Welcome everyone to today's webinar on construction services. We have your microphones muted and your cameras turned off to keep things running smoothly. If you have any questions at any point, please post them in the chat. We will address them as we can. And I will now turn things over to Alan so that he can present on our construction services. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for participating today. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to discuss our services. As we begin, I just want to say that our services, we look at these opportunities, work with customers as a true partnership. You know, our role and our purpose is really to discover ways to help the customer with their labor efficiency on the job site and make their jobs more profitable. Their success turns out to be our success. And our biggest success stories that we've had in the past are really with customers that have really treated this as a true partnership. So, you know, our attitude going into this is to operate as a unit of your business and just working collaboratively with you just to achieve the same goals. So we know supply management. This is what we do as a distributor. You know, our total focus is getting the right product to you when and where you need it. It's what we do day in and day out. Logistics, material handling, it's what we do. For the contractor, installing the product is what you do. So this list of things, power systems, commercial lighting, gear, motor control system enclosures, all that, we know it in and out. And I'm really going to focus on the services side, which is on the lower half of that list here today, which talks about conduit bending, strut cutting, site material management, kitting, and those items. So where do we fit in? So where does Schaedler Yesco Services fit in on your job site? So basically, we handle your unproductive labor. And you know, the way things are trending in our industry, it's just going to be increasingly difficult for contractor to manage these unproductive labor tasks as they just need to focus on getting the actual work done. So we're going to talk about some labor statistics, if you will, here. So the projected growth demand for electricians between 2020 and 2030 is 9.1%. And these numbers are from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So 9.1% growth for electricians during this time frame. So the projected growth for all other occupations during the same time period is 7.7%. So the demand for electrical contractor electricians is going to be higher than your typical occupation. And then electrical construction is going to be the hardest hit because it already does employ the highest number of electricians. So, you know, where is all this additional labor going to come from? And then expected growth rate of electrical construction over the same time period is 9.9%. So a lot of work to be done, not enough people to do it. And then I was just looking at some information this morning and some more information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're estimating that it's 80,000 electricians, new electricians that are going to be needed annually until 2031. So while this slide is maybe dated by a year, the statistics that they're putting out today are reflecting the same situation. So cost of labor. So I verified this over the last couple of years, being in this position and talking directly to contractors and asking them direct questions. So labor is likely to be your biggest expense for every job, usually accounting for at least 25 to 50% of the total project cost. Since labor accounts for such a large portion of job costs, your biggest opportunity to improve profitability is found in labor efficiency. So like I said, I talked to many customers, owners, and I found that this percentage, 25 to 50%, seems to be accurate based on real world feedback. So it's a concern. So let's talk about Schaedler and, you know, how we support contractors, you know, on the job site. And let's just talk about how Site Inventory Management Solutions, our SIMS program, started. So we already had in place an IMS program which serviced vendor managed inventory in a customer facility. A lot of those were industrial facilities. And then in 2001, there was an opportunity with a contractor for this Cabela's job in Hamburg, PA, which was a large job that had a very aggressive time frame. So the contractor who had this job came to us and said, hey, what can we do? So the people that were running these programs at that time came up with this idea of taking our IMS vendor managed inventory, let's put it in a CCAN, let's mobilize that, take it to a job site, and operate it the same way. So 2001, I mean, it's only 24 years ago, but logistics back then aren't as they were today. So getting a truck every day was not a typical situation. And this location is probably about an hour and 45 minutes from our Harrisburg location. So logistics, the time frame, all kind of push us into this solution. So as it transpired, the job went very, very well, and our SIMS program was born, and it began to spread from there. So just about this, so 24 years of doing this, we've completed over 1,290 projects, which to me is an amazing number, with over 174 different customers. If you look at that number, obviously we have a lot of repeat business. We have customers that continue to utilize this program. And the reason that happens is because we have demonstrated time and time again that we do, in fact, save labor for the contractor on the job, and that it helps contribute to their profitability on that job. Once they use it once, they're compelled to use it again. The success leads to repetitiveness. So why it works. So save time and labor. So we've been able to demonstrate over the last 20 plus years a 5 to 12% savings. So we derive these numbers from having some, like I said, partnerships. So we have some customers that we share some really intense internal data. And we have found that this labor savings is a real benefit. When I ask these contractors to share this information or allow us to use that for marketing, they don't really like to share that kind of information. So you're going to kind of have to take my word for it. And then we've had many jobs that have exceeded that 12%. So we feel very confident that at the end of the job, there is an actual realized labor savings. So increase job site productivity. Number one, eliminate receiving activities. Typically how things happen today, contractors that are working on a job have multiple distributors that they work with. And the distributor may not have all the material. The contractor may shop or like to split up the work, and may end up placing 3, maybe 4 orders to go to a job site the next day. So what happens on that job site? So whoever's on that site, whether it's an electrician or the foreman, whoever it may be, is going to have to come off whatever job that they're working on, go to wherever they're receiving material, check it in, make sure it's accurate, and then they're going to have to take the time to put it away somewhere. Okay. And people are people, you're going to talk 10 minutes about how the game went last night, all those kind of conversations. And you do that a couple times a day. So that is just lost productivity. The bill of material and the specs. So a couple things that we do, protect pricing. So this is an interesting topic even today. COVID was a situation where plants were shut down. By the time materials started shipping, materials were going up. Price increases were happening routinely every month. Today, we're looking at a situation with tariffs. There's a big question mark as to what's going to be happening with pricing for material. One thing that our program can do, our SIMS program, is to protect that pricing. So what we're able to do is we're able to pre-purchase this material, basically hold it and release it till the time that you need it. So that is one way to help protect your pricing for the job. Supply chain issues. While it's not as bad as what it was coming out of COVID, there are still pockets of areas where we can't get breakers, gear, lighting, certain things. There are still supply chain issues. So in preparing for one of these jobs, we can pre-order that material, make sure it's here ready for you for the duration of your job, so you're not experiencing any of those delays. So we can help eliminate some of those things. And then reduce expected costs. We could pre-buy in anticipation that pricing is going to go up on steel or whatever the situation is going to be as it relates to tariffs or whatever the situation would be. Project phasing. We work very closely with the customers to really talk about, hey, what's coming up next in the next month, next week, what phase are you in? So if there's a job that has a lot of underground PVC, we will make sure that everything is loaded up, stocked for that phase of the job. When that structure begins to go up out of the ground and you're moving inside, you're starting to use metallic conduit now and fittings, we will phase out the PVC stuff and phase in the new stuff that you're working with. So we work very closely with the site foreman to determine when that switchover, takes place. Material management, one thing we're very strong with is reporting to help manage material. We have a report that's called an open order report that we like to use with the site foreman, basically to have the conversation and say, hey, what work do you have coming up next week, 2 weeks? Do we have enough material to do that? Hey, you completed this phase. You want us to return this material since you're not going to be using it anymore and make more room free up more room in the trailer. So it's a tool that we use to really have an open dialogue with the site foreman or whoever's managing the material on site to keep things on site that are going to be used and get rid of the stuff that is not going to be used anymore. So we have a dedicated project team. We have a very professional services team. We also utilize our Contractor First inside sales team, who are very knowledgeable. And we have a primary and a secondary person. So we have multiple people that are involved with your account and your project. So if somebody is off on vacation, we don't lose any traction. Whoever is that secondary person is able to pick that up and run with it without losing any productivity. Reducing paperwork, fewer POs and invoices. This is something that gets discussed in advance of starting a project on how the customer would like to see this happen. We can vary the frequency of invoices. We can work with blanket POs, anything to make it easier for the customer, because the customer has an administrative expense processing all those invoices and cutting checks. So anything that we can do to reduce that also helps the customer save on the expense side. And the next thing is actionable data, and I'll share some of this with you later. But we can provide real live data as to products that you're using and not using to help make decisions above and beyond that open order report that I just talked about. And then customizing solutions. All these projects that we have done, we have had some that have varied with dramatic requests on how to do things. We encourage customers to bring that to our attention. Let's talk about it. If it's something that we can do to make it easier, more productive for you, we will take a look at it. So a lot of these jobs are not cookie cutter. They are really custom based on the situation. So just to give you an idea how this works, it's full service. So the guys that we have in the field are our field specialists, field reps. They have a cadence where they'll go in weekly. Sometimes if it's a fast-paced, large job, they're in there 2 times a week. We've had jobs where we've had our field specialists in 3 times a week. But they will go in, they will maintain the organization of the trailer. If you can see in this picture, the shelves have labels, everything is organized. Their job is to organize everything, make sure everything is properly in its place, and then they will scan the barcode and they will reorder material based on the minimum amount of quantities that you establish for that job. So if he's looking at some straps there in that picture and the contractor says, hey, I want to make sure I have 100 of those, there's a min set for 100, he'll go in and count it. He counts that box, there's only 50 there. He's going to scan that, he's going to place an order for 50, which will be delivered the next day. So the next day, our driver will make that delivery, and our drivers are trained to put that material in the location on the shelf. So the contractor does not have to do that work. The contractor does not have to pull off what he's working on, go down to the trailer, help unload, check the boxes in, and then put the material away. We do all of that. That is just down unproductive time, for the contractor. And then our field reps, if they're there, or if it's a large delivery, they will coordinate with the warehouse and the drivers, and they will be there to assist so they can get all that stuff put away in a timely manner. So I just want to talk a little bit about our assets. So we have towable trailers. We have 20 and 22 footers rated at 7 or 10,000 pounds. I will tell you the ones that I've ordered over the last couple of years have been the 22 foot at 10,000. I think we're just going to standardize on that. But as you can see, as you look into that trailer, we have mounted metal shelving. There's room for conduit underneath one of the shelves, strut underneath the other. And we can usually handle electrical jobs up to $75,000 as a rough guideline in those trailers. And of course, it's nice to be mobile. If you're on a job site where they're going to have to pave and the trailer needs to be constantly moved, you're able to do that with a towable unit. So we also have C-cans. We have 20-foot and 40-foot C-cans with or without shelving. And if you look in there, we have Again, metal shelving that is mounted to the side of the trailer. Everything is neat and organized. The shelves are mounted with hardware so they don't move. And everything is labeled, and just the same situation. Our field specialist goes in there, makes sure everything is neat and orderly, and your guys can go in, remove material. Here's another container. This is a new asset that we just added. This is a 40-foot sea can where the entire side opens up. So we had issues in the past when we had to ship metallic conduit to a job. The building structure is not up. You can't get it inside, so it has to be outside. And then you're messing with these heavy, heavy tarps. It's very, very difficult. So with this, you can store metallic conduit inside and keep it out of the weather, keep it out of the mud. It's just been a great tool for us, and contractors are really starting to like this a lot. So some of the productivity assets that we have job boxes. So if you have a multi-floor facility, and we just did one here 2 years ago here in Harrisburg, that was 7 different floors. We had multiple job boxes on different floors. Our field specialist will put product in those job boxes. So the customer does not have to run down to the trailer, carry it up, through an elevator or steps or whatever, and put it in there. Our field specialist will do that for each floor. That is a huge time saver for electricians not having to run down and get material. So some of the other things we do, there's scaffolding, conduit carts, pipe trees. We have multiple assets like that we can provide on the job site to make moving material on the job easier for the contractor. So that wagon with the green cart in the upper right corner, so that was a custom solution. I like it when customers come to us saying, hey, can you do this? So this was an industrial contractor that was doing work in a very large facility. They needed material to be mobile. They didn't really want a job box. So we kind of came up with this solution for them, and they were very happy with it. And they actually continue to utilize that today. So custom solutions, I'm just showing this slide because I talk about repeat business with customers, and we had a very good customer that utilized our service almost all the time. So they had an out-of-state job come up, and they came to us. It's like, hey, we really, really want you to do this for us in South Carolina, which is a little bit out of our company footprint. So we investigated this and determined that we could make this work. So we actually, we rented trailers because the cost to do that was less expensive than shipping our own down there. So we rented 7 trailers, and a crew of us went down, and we actually built wooden shelves in the trailers, for the customer so we can get the material in there. So again, customer was like, hey, we need you on this job. It was a $6 million electrical job for us. A lot of material. It was a fast-paced job, and this was an overwhelming success for the customer, for the end user, and for us. So, our capabilities are pretty wide and diverse as what we're able to do. So just as our out-of-state jobs had progressed, this is just a map of some of the things that we've done. New York, Connecticut, Virginia, West Virginia, not too bad. We have 2 jobs in South Carolina. We have an active job right now in Alabama. And yes, we did a job in Idaho, right in the middle of potato country. And of course, over the winter, so it was cold on top of everything else. Those are some of the capabilities that we can do. So security is an issue on job sites. The locks that we use on our trailers are about $400 a piece. They're very expensive. They're not completely 100%. They can be cut with the right tools, and they can be, but it is very difficult to cut. So we also offer other means to monitor the site. We can set up security cameras on site to monitor the trailer or other areas. So that's just something else that we can provide. Our technology. So I know some of our competitors still use a clipboard, paper, and pencil. We do not. We use the Innovo Stockroom app. So all our barcodes, our app, this allows our guys to go on site. They can scan immediately. They can enter what quantity they need to order. And by the time they leave that trailer, they can just swipe that, and our administrative team has that order in hand ready to process. So it's really a good productivity tool for us. So earlier I mentioned some reporting, and I apologize, a couple of these next slides are like eye charts here, but I just really want to discuss them. So some of the reporting, we can tell you at the end of a job how many items that we managed, how many hours our specialists spent on site, how many deliveries we made, your purchases, what the credit amount was, and what that netted out to be. So this is valuable information we can provide at the end. Some of the other reporting, based on your original bill material, the bill material that the contractor gives us, we can tell you what you used on the job. Hey, you had this in your estimating package, you didn't use any of it. Or you had 200 of these in your estimating package and you actually used 1,000. So it's great information. We have some contractors that really love to get this information because they can use it as a training tool, or they can do some investigation. Why was their estimate so far off? Was there a change that happened on the job? But it's just data. So we have a lot of data that we can cut and put together any way that the contractor or customer would prefer. So that's the majority on our SIMS service offering. We also do stage and store for lighting. 3 different plans that we offer. And that's kind of been limited now down to 1, to the custom storage. We had a simple storage offering where skids will come in and we'll ship them out as is to your job site. Then we had a mid-range stage and store where we would release it by fixture type. And then we had a custom store, which, if you wanted 10 type A fixtures and, 2 type B fixtures, we would do that. So as things have evolved over the last couple of years, our custom storage is the most popular one. Probably 95% of the stage and store projects utilize that option. So the advantage to the contractor on that is you don't have fixtures accumulating on your job site that are susceptible to damage. You can get them for whatever area you're working on, with a couple of days notice. So another new area that we're getting into are lighting carts. So these are just ordered. We have carts coming in. They'll probably be in the next 2 months. So another great advantage, and this is a great tool to use on like warehouses, high bay fixtures. The contractor would get these carts with the fixtures on them. You don't have to worry about the cardboard and other waste removal. All the fixtures are prepped and ready to go on these carts. Electrician just takes it off the cart, installs it, and just keeps moving down the line. So a huge time saver. Having to open cartons, check for damage, and then remove the waste. Kitting has been a very good growth area for us over the last year and a half. And it's really been having an impact on the residential side of business. So basically what kitting does is we will take multiple products, we will put them in a bin based on what the contractor would like us to put together. That bin is cable tied, numbered, and sent, and we will take it to the job site, we will take it to the floor, we will take it to the room, whatever the instructions are from the contractor. That way, when the electrician is working there, they cut open the cable tie, their material is in there. It's not just thrown in, everything is neat and organized. They can take out all the receptacles at one time, all the plates at one time, and then all the stuff for that room or that area is in that kit. Great time saver for the contractor. So modification services. So we have a UL mod shop on site. So just want to mention this real quick. So we can do custom enclosures. We can do modifications to fixtures. Anything related to that, please ask. And, we could probably accommodate you with that request. Something new that we're just beginning right now, strut cutting. So we have a couple opportunities that are getting ready to kick off here. So we will cut strut to desired lengths. We will also, in the near future, have the capability to assemble a trapeze, which is different layers of strut connected with all thread. So this will be a new service that we're getting into. And this is all fabrication work that we will do that will save the contractor time on the job site. It'll be delivered, already assembled, or already cut. All you have to do is take it off the skid, install it. Coming soon, conduit bending. So we invested in the benders. We have benders here, and we're going to be able to do up to 4-inch conduit bends. We'll also be able to make nipples and put that together in a short amount of time. A lot of contractors don't have benders. that can handle this, and they're ordering factory elbows, which are more expensive. So we can do this. And then, of course, if it is a large contractor, they may have a vendor that is out on another job site and they may not have the capability to do this. So we could be a backup, for that situation. So coming soon here in the second quarter, we'll be able to offer this service, as well. All right. So that's the presentation on our services. Is there any other services that we can help with? Like I said, I always like to hear new ideas or new requests, or if anybody has any questions.
I think we're good, Alan.
All right. Yep. I appreciate everybody's time today. Have a great day.